I'll call this meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first time of business are the minutes of the regular board meeting February 10th. Everybody's had a chance to read them. I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the February 10th meeting.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the regular board meeting February 10th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. The next item of business is the approval of general fund vouchers 82096 through 82196 and wire transfers 2025-0271 through 2025-0311. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the general fund vouchers and wire transfers as read.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the general fund vouchers and wire transfers as read. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. Next item of business is the public comment section. Anybody here that wants to share anything? Seeing none, then we'll move on to the next item of business, which would be our board business, first being approval of resignations and retirements.
Okay, we've got one resignation letter from Beth Weiland, fourth grade teacher, effective at the end of the school year. She wrote a very nice letter, thanking the board and everyone for her time in the district. She's been here for a number of years. She's going to be pursuing a option with her new counseling license that she's been working towards. So, Beth Weiland.
All right, I will entertain that motion.
I move to approve the resignation. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the resignation of Beth Weiland with thanks for many years of service to the Clear Lake so far. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item of business is our hires.
Okay, we have one. You recall maybe we had a high school food service position for a part-time dishwasher, and a few weeks ago hired Rachel Wolf to that position.
All right, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve Ms. Wolf's job for part-time in the food service.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve Rachel Wolf. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. The next item of business is the approval of the 25-26 CISA 11 shared services contract.
Okay, so this is that time of year. Each year, all the districts in CISA 11 get their contracts to review and make any updates or changes that they want to make. We do this annually. CISA 11 is a cooperative educational service agency. We're Region 11, Western Wisconsin here. And CISA, for everyone listening, is they provide cooperative services for districts, particularly like ours, that may be smaller districts. And let's say, for example, we need assistance with a hearing impaired teacher. That would be a low incidence position for us, and so they hire someone who then they contract out for small amounts for districts around the region. Other things that they put on, professional development, things like that. So, and they're also a networking group that, that's where we go to learn things that are being passed on from the DPI and meet with peer groups, principals, counselors, district assessment coordinators, so on. So, if you look at the contract, just things of note. One thing is a change from the last few years is the district level consulting services put down 6 days. So we've reduced down from when we had our 2 years and 3 years ago when we had all the ESSER funds, we had over 20 days that we contracted for. We put a major infusion into some of those efforts. This was with input from the administrative team as far as plans for next year. So that's kind of a minimal number that we would expect. We always have the option as we're partway through the year. If we say, hey, you know what, we need to buy 2 more days, we have the option to do that. But we thought we'd put the lower number and not commit ourselves and then have extra days that we're trying to use. So that's a difference.
Can you get the more days at the same price?
So because we're under 10, we're paying the highest price, so they would be that same price, yeah. And then The other one is the Healthy, Safe, Respectful Schools. And again, we're not renewing that one. That's a consortium. And I got input from counselors, health teacher, administrators on that one too. That is, so you pay into the consortium, and one of the benefits you get is you get a reduced price for any of the events that they put on for that network. And so I just looked at our history the last 3 years, and if we don't subscribe to the consortium, we can still go to all the events. We just pay the full price. So you can imagine the discount. You got to have a lot of discounted events to make up for the $27.85. And so we just kind of did the math. And I also looked at some of the services that are provided with it to make sure and check with the counselors, check with the health teacher. Like, are there things that you're checking out regularly that I'm not aware of? And everyone, kind of said, no, I think we'd be, it wouldn't really affect me. So we're gonna not renew that one, save a little bit, and then. Obviously, as times change in the future, if we want to renew it, we certainly can. The other things are renewals to things that we've been a part of before. They help us with our Title I, II, and III administration, which is huge. Early Learning Consortium, we want to renew our Scimatech, Science, Math, Technology Resource Center. We want to renew that. On the second page, again, some of those services like audiology, deaf and hard of hearing services, those are just as needed. If we do it, we get, we pay an hourly or daily rate. And then also the Special Ed Instructional Media Center, again, we check out a lot of loaned materials from that, along with the Special Ed Network meetings. So that was definitely one that we wanted to do. And the reason for the 3 different rates listed is based on your school size. So that's what that is. Same thing with the CISA 11 Distance Education Network. That's based on school size, and those are the things that a lot of the interactive or a lot of the distance learning classes that we have a lot of students participating in that. So that's definitely something that we needed to renew. And we do get a discount on that because we do offer at least one distance education class. I know Mr. Crawford is sitting here in the audience. I know he typically offers one in the years that he teaches AP, and we've got other teachers that will do it as well.
So what's the difference between the Distance Education Network and the Interactive Special Events Service?
Sure. So good question. So that is, so they will put on educational opportunities that classes can sign up for. So oftentimes it'll be like the elementary classes can go learn, let's say, I don't know, maybe there's an expert on penguins in Antarctica and they have an interactive distance learning session that they can do there. Or some of our summer school classes will subscribe to some of those and do that. So that was one I looked into quite a bit last year to see if it was worth renewing, and talked to the person at CISA and felt that it made sense to renew that one too.
Yeah, that
Mrs.
was.
Prusek.
Mrs. Prusek goes up first.
Yeah, that's right. I'm forgetting the
Anatomy
good stuff.
classes or the
Yeah. Yep. Good questions. So it's actually, I just started tracking it. So we're spending less on our shared services contract than we were the year before.
Okay, that was
So
my next question.
22-23 we spent $68,000 because we bought $23,000 worth of consulting days with ESSER funds, and then we spent $71,000, and then last year back down to $63,000, this year $56,000. So just eliminating some of the services and hiring fewer consultant days. And again, that's based on not just the ESSER funds going away. It's also based on need. We're feeling like we're not needing as many days going forward. So, any other questions?
Chris, does this include like when board members go up there for any activities or?
Like when we go, if we that event like on April 3rd, we pay for that. So it doesn't. Let's see. I have to go look through the full catalog because it does list in there
Some of that?
like the monthly meetings I go to, the PAC meeting,
Sure.
the professional advisory committee. It's a monthly soups that is in there, and actually it does. Yeah, you know what? Now that I think more closely about it, we still pay a little fee for lunch or for supper, but it does include some of that under the administrative costs. So, yep, good question. Thank you.
Okay, any more on the CISA 11 stuff?
With all these open positions, do you think we'll need anything there?
No, I don't think, and I don't think they would be, classroom teacher positions, that's usually not their thing. It's usually more special ed director, maybe not a special ed teacher typically, perhaps OT or PT, more of those kind of specialty kind of things. So we've got right now, more mainstream teaching positions, so I would say they'd probably not be a huge help with that. They have some of the same challenges as us trying to find people too, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on to the next item of business.
Go back. I move to approve the CSO 11 service contract for 2025-2026 year.
Second.
It's been properly moved to approve the 25-26 CISA 11 shared service contract. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thanks, Natty. The next item of business then is the approval to start college now and early college credit applications.
Okay, so this is a thing we do every fall and every spring, so this is for fall of 2025. Kind of early in the, feels kind of early, but that's what the timeline requires. So because there was a number of pages, the scans are divided up into 3 attachments, so it's all, but again, these are, what we're doing here tonight is we are approving these courses to be accepted for high school credit. So approving the course doesn't necessarily mean we're approving that we're paying for it. That will be sorted out by Mr. Ballenberg, Mrs. Kaler, and myself, to look at. If we offer a similar class already, then we don't pay for it. Or if they haven't exhausted all of our options here. But what we're doing is we're just approving that, okay, we will accept these college courses to cover a high school credit for graduation in Clear Lake.
Do we have kind of a, per grade level, how many college courses they should take? I mean, I'm looking at some of these 6 to 8 to 6 to 7. I'm like, that's a huge step in rigor in what they're already doing. Is that the best thing?
It's a good question, because one of our goals in the strategic plan was to increase these opportunities, but that comes at a price. And so we've got a lot more kids now applying for these. Mm-hmm. So I think the next thing we need to do is probably look at policy to a lot of schools will limit the number of college credits that they can take. I'm not sure that we're quite there yet, but we're headed that direction, so we may need to have that conversation. To give you an idea, we had 6 kids apply for dual credit last year at this time. We have 15 this year.
Yeah. Well, I'm also looking at success, persistence, retention, those pieces. And when you get lots of credits with high school and high school activities,
right,
it's 2 different environments.
And we do have some policies in place that if they're not successful, we will not approve in the future. Mm-hmm. So if a junior struggles in the fall next year, we will not approve them in the spring. But you're saying to protect them from themselves?
Well, I'm just thinking of scaffolding it. You start with 1 class, the next semester you can do 2. Because the thought is to slowly integrate them and not just dump them in, have them not successful, and then all of a sudden then they're not going anywhere. We don't want it to be a bad experience either.
I think our scheduling does that naturally a little bit, because as a junior you don't have as many choices as a senior. And then when I do scheduling with the incoming juniors, my advice to them is to take care of as much as they can with our graduation requirements their junior year, to open it up their senior year, which doesn't leave them a lot of room. It doesn't leave them room to take 6, 8, 10 credits. But if they take care of business their junior year, there is room for that their senior year. So yeah, I see what you're saying, where if they don't do anything their junior year, then all of a sudden jump into half a schedule their senior year, that might be some.
Well, I'm even thinking your junior year when you're still working on graduation requirements. And some of these are juniors going, I want 6 credits. And that's a lot.
So and 2 classes.
And some of it too, we should clarify too, that you might see kids applying for 4 and 5 classes. Doesn't mean they're going to take them all. Right. It just means that we're approving, and they might end up only taking 1, maybe 2 of them. So
In the timeline of this, for that reason, the timeline is not great, because we have to approve these credits now, but they just turned in their schedules this last week for our incoming seniors and juniors, and so part of it is some of these kids are, I'm going to apply for this many just in case, and then I'll fit in what I can.
Yeah. Okay.
You were going to mention too maybe the how we translate the college credits to high school credits.
So it's a for every 4 credits of college, it's 1 credit here.
Yep.
So I quick math.
So they are getting truly dual credit of you're getting high school credits towards graduation plus college credits.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what Mr. Peterson said. That's what you're approving tonight, is that these credits will come towards their high school graduation.
Okay.
And then we'll go through them. In fact, we've already gone through them, because there's some that we have to weed out that don't fit the criteria, the particular class they picked. But we'll approve the credit, or you will potentially approve the credits tonight, and then we'll
Yeah.
work with that student to find something that actually fits,
Okay.
that meets the requirements
Yeah.
for us to pay for it.
Yeah.
Do these kids go to campus and take these classes?
Not very often, but we do have 1 or 2 cases a year where they're visiting. They're going to New Richmond. We have a young lady right now that goes to Eau Claire 1 day a week.
And our students, are they required to do an introductory to college type of a thing like they do when we bring our kids down to Ripper Falls?
Not with this, they're not.
So they're not getting any woke ideology or anything initially to start out with?
No.
Okay.
But they're also not getting like the orientation to the college the
college
same
campus
way
either,
that a
yeah.
new freshman
Yeah.
would. So
But
that,
99% of what we're doing is done
Online.
virtually here.
yeah.
So that's
On
awesome.
occasion, we have some that visit there, or we have like the Welding Academy where we have kids at the New Richmond High School get dual credit there.
Distance learning has really made it explode more because
Yeah.
now it just opens up options for kids that had to be at the beginning or the end of their school day to travel, and now they can fit it in 4th hour and take a distance class.
Right on. Okay, a lot of good questions. I will entertain a motion if no one has any questions, I guess.
I move to approve the Start College Now and Early College Credit applications.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the Start College Now and Early College Credit applications. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. The next item of business is the approval of 66.031 shared course agreement for 25 and 26.
Okay, so this is something that's been in place for a few years between Clear Lake, Turtle Lake, Clayton, and Prairie Farm. And so basically it's just a shared services agreement where we would allow students, if it fits in their schedule and it's something that they need and want to take, that we would allow students from those schools to come to our school to take a course. Now, I will say, in the 3 years that I've been doing this, we haven't really made use of it. But as superintendents, we get together and talk, a handful of times a year, and we all felt like, keep the agreement. Why not? It doesn't hurt to have the agreement in place. That way, if something does come up, we can certainly do it. So we haven't really made a lot of use of it, but it's just nice to have it there in the background in case we have a situation where we want to. So I would recommend continuing it.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the 66.0301 shared course agreement for 25-26.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve 66.0301. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. The next item of business is then consideration/approval of school perception surveys for students, staff, and parents.
Okay. So everyone may recall that last year with the creation of our strategic plan, for the first time ever, we utilized school perceptions to do a professional survey of our students, our staff, and our parents, spring of 2024. I think it was in April, later April. And so at the time, we discussed the different options for how to follow up in following years. So I reached out a month or so ago to school perceptions to start talking about this coming year. One of the things we had discussed a year ago was doing it closer to spring break, like after spring break. You get too late in the spring, and sometimes you kind of have that late spring fatigue where everyone's kind of feeling a little, morale, whether it's student, staff, whatever. They felt like, a nice time to do it is a week or two after spring break, when everyone's a little bit kind of refreshed and refocused a little bit. So that would be the target this year if we would do this. And so then we talked about, and the board may recall this last summer, talking about, maybe getting into a pattern of maybe not doing every survey every year or things like that. Talked to the administrative team, and we discussed, and our priority, we felt the first priority would be to do staff, because there are several questions or several items on our strategic plan that ask for staff input. Students was kind of the next priority, because there are some items on the strategic plan where we'd like that data, and that the parents would be the third priority, because there weren't necessarily parent things on the strategic plan. Also, that we haven't necessarily instituted any specific strategies for parents yet, as far as parent engagement. We're always trying to do parent engagement, but like no new specific things, so we wouldn't even be sure if we'd be measuring anything different. So I talked it over with Rob. If you remember Rob, he zoomed in with us last year. He's great, very, very knowledgeable. Kind of talked about the different options. That was kind of his recommendation too, was parents maybe, also would be the group that would suffer from survey fatigue the most as well. They're used to getting so much stuff from school and work and other places that might be okay to not do them, but the other ones are, kind of your direct service people that are in your buildings every day. So, it's a little bit of cost savings too. So, so for the board to consider, I guess, our recommendation would be to do staff and students this year or this spring. And then I did speak to Rob a second time, like last week, about potential timeline. And I said, hey, if I can get it approved on the board meeting on the 10th, are we in a realistic timeline? And he said, yeah, absolutely. Even with spring break thrown in there, we can. After spring break, we can do our data poll and get all the information that they need to then send out the surveys. That Monday the 31st is what we're targeting. So, and I would send out some communications the week before, kind of those heads up communications, like, hey, be looking for this survey next week from School Perceptions. So that's our tentative plan if it's approved. I don't know what questions the group might have, or if that makes sense. Or
did we talk about us doing our own surveys after a little while of learning how these go, Chris?
At one point we did, and initially before we even worked with them, we talked about doing it ourselves. Two things happened. One is, I think as time went on, we realized, like, when are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? It's a lot of work to put the survey together. And then the other thing is, what's so valuable about them is they give you comparables with other districts. If you remember when he zoomed in last year, you can see, they take schools that are nationwide, same demographics or similar demographics as you, and then they can say, well, how do your parents or your students compare on this same question to students across the country? And that was pretty cool to see.
That's where the value comes in.
Yeah, otherwise
I
we get
also think they had some different interpretation to things that we didn't quite see either.
Well, like we have
that stuff
Yeah.
we have an internal institutional research department, and we don't do our own surveys.
Oh, yeah.
Number one is for anonymity. You're not going to get responses if we're doing our own,
That was
because
one
people
thing
won't
they
trust
said,
it.
too.
And then we don't have access to all that data. And then where you can't, for these prices, we pay way more. Like, you can't develop and implement a survey on our own for this cost.
Right on.
Okay.
That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's good value. I don't know, because it's
Yeah,
a survey
I'm just saying,
company.
like-
I saw these guys present
Yeah.
last year at the convention, and they seem pretty darn smart to me.
Yeah, I have a ton of respect for them. They do a lot around our state, and I really appreciate working with them.
I was pretty impressed.
Rob's been really great to work with. Just right on the spot with everything. So.
Okay. Well, I'll entertain a motion then.
Budget-wise, where are we sitting? Is
So,
that a problem? with
It's
this?
not, yeah. I looked back and I had budgeted for this. Even I looked through it. He pulled it up and we looked through to see. And so, yeah, we would be okay. And again, I would recommend just doing staff and students.
Yeah, we can do parents next year.
Yeah.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
To do the school perception survey of student and staff this spring.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded to approve the school perception surveys for students and staff. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
All opposed? Motion passes. The next item of business is the update on minor facility projects.
Okay. So I say minor because they're not, compared to some of the things we've done, like a HVAC system or a track or things like that. So a roof. So just back in January, we updated Fund 46, and I just added in some of the bigger things with some smaller maintenance things. Just kind of outlined them there in your notes. We talked about some signage updating here at the junior senior high. Our sign out by the road has seen its better days and needs to be rehabbed a bit. Talked about adding some signage to the front of the building so that it stands out a little bit more attractive and also designates the high school entrance from the district office entrance. And then also just updating some signage in the gym with our switch to a different conference to the Dunn St. Croix next year. Updating, and honestly our Lakeland banners needed to be updated because those were kind of out of date and missing some schools and so on. And actually, a side note here, got a good deal on an extra set of banners. They're smaller ones, used, older ones, but Elk Mound is leaving the Dunn St. Croix, so they offered to sell us their banners, and so we're putting those in the junior high gym over at the elementary, so that'll be kind of nice to have over there. So got a good deal on those. So they're used ones. Anyway, side note there. And then we talked about railings. This is feedback we've gotten over the years about, hey, why don't we have railings on both sides of the gym at the high school? And also definitely we got feedback at the elementary. We have concerts over there, we have junior high games, and we certainly have people, often elderly people who grandmas and grandpas watching games, and they want to get up there higher in the bleachers, and so looked into that. So those were actually custom made in probably 2008 or 9 by Mr. Schellinger here locally in town at Clear Lake Iron Works, and so we reached out to him again, and he came in, measured, going to do some more. We talked about a facilities team and admin team, about, well, what should we do, which sides or all the sides, and we just came around to, for the price, let's just do all the sides, let's just do it all.
That's not something the tech department can do?
Probably not, no.
Are these
Definitely
images
not.
that are in here, are these mocked up, or these?
That's mocked up.
Okay.
Yeah, that's mocked up. But so if you've ever sat on the parent side, it's the same metal bars there, and they'll be powder coated and everything so that they don't wear off. And
Those longer ones are better than just, some schools just have like a pillar one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Those are awful. So
Yeah.
we can get that length for
they'll be the
older
same.
people to hang on to. That's
Yep,
right.
yep, they'll be just like the ones we have now. Yep. So that's been, just wanted to update on those things. Those things are in the works. There's a few things that aren't in the works as much, but I've listed on here. We need to just kind of fix up some of our storage sheds are in a little bit of disrepair. Maybe need a new roof. Maybe have some floorboards that are getting a little soggy or saggy or whatever. That's something that Mr. Larson's construction class can do. So just be the cost of materials. And then we talked about some other minor electrical things in this concession stand, and there's some cracks, mortar cracks and things like that in both buildings that Mr. Osmond would like to get addressed, and looking into a generator for the high school. Not even sure what the price will be on that. That might be a bigger price tag, and we'll see. And then we talked about the press box windows, and again, that's also tentative to be determined. We could wait another year on that. It's safe, it's closed and everything. It's just they don't operate very well. So some of those things, Mr. Osmond earns out on leave for a few weeks here, so some of those things are kind of on hold. But I just wanted to give an update on those things. Most of them are pretty smaller, maintenance type things or smaller prices. So I didn't have them as an approval, just kind of an update of what's going on. The one item on there is the signage that we're looking that would potentially go on the front of the building on the brick. That one was a little bigger cost, $7,000. They'd be aluminum, painted with a long-lasting paint. They're like three-dimensional. So if you think of the ones at the elementary that say Gaylord A. Nelson Educational Center, they're very similar to that. Is what we're going for. The color is to match the lamps that are on the side of the building to kind of fit in and kind of look classy with that. And then they would be installed by them and everything. So there is a mock-up in there. Christy's got it pulled up there.
It's just the district office one looks really hard to read.
Yeah.
Like the black on the brick
I think-
versus this one is like it's
Yep.
clean and crisp, but you look
It
at
could be the shadow.
We
it
talked
could
about-
be. It just
Yeah.
I'm just thinking from like
Yep.
I hate to say it, ADA compliance is that the right colors to be on a color? There's supposed
Yeah.
to be a variance in order for it to be readable.
I think that the color, part of it is the shadow, and then I talked about that with the gentleman from the sign company, and we kind of went back and forth on that, and that was the question we asked too. A little bit though is kind of the prominence to maybe have it be a little bit of a secondary,
Yeah.
so it's not standing out quite as much as the high school part. But that just so people can designate, like when they're walking up and they see it there, because we often have people coming in the wrong doors
Yeah.
all the time. They come in the district to get to the high school and vice versa. So we just thought it'd be nice to have something to just kind of designate it. It is kind of secondary.
Is there something in the back? Like, we're talking about the signage in the front, but what is this? I guess I've never looked. What is the signage on the back? Because it's typically where
Mm-hmm.
event
Mm-hmm.
entrance, that's like the event
Yep.
entrance.
Gymnasium. Yeah. We could put it. We could.
So I'm just thinking, like, when you host events and stuff, how do you tell them which?
People who enter the building go through that,
Mhm.
that door. So.
We've talked about too how we want to put. There's some signs out in the front right now, but they're so small people don't notice them. That say, event and gym entrance
Yeah.
back here,
That
school
would even
entrance
help.
here, and they're so little that people. So we'll often joke that whenever we play a school that doesn't come here very often.
Which we will next year a lot.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
next year a lot. They will come. They'll pull the bus up to the front, come knocking on the front door, trying to get in for it's some junior high or JV basketball team trying to get in, and we always direct them around. So
Or grandma will knock on my window and I'll jump 3 feet.
yeah, yeah. So
Is this a good time to talk logo? Like mascot type deal? Being we're doing all the signs and
I think I think that's a different discussion from this, but I think that it's fine to talk about it. I think you guys have had informal conversations, and I've heard some of those about looking into that. I'm happy to pursue that some more for sure. Haven't had the chance. Do you want me to? You guys want me to make that an agenda item in the future here? To
I think it should be an agenda item so we can formally talk about it so that people know that
Yeah, and
It's
then
coming.
kind of formulate a plan too.
Yes.
So do we have some direction too as to what the board
Maybe
would
some
like?
examples of what,
getting what
kind of thing.
is out there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we could kind of make some notes, and I've shared informal conversation with people too.
Would
We
we-
did a.
As part of this, would we entertain an idea of changing from warriors, since there's like 5 billion warriors out there too?
I don't know if I'd go that
I think
far.
that might not sit well with the community.
I wouldn't
Like,
want
that one's pretty old.
I think it would just be more about the mascot type instead of
Yeah.
CL.
A little bit of blood dripping
I
off.
just want to know what you
Yeah.
have in my head. So.
We saved a little bit on banners and stuff.
Yeah, we. I shared with some of you just in conversation over the years. We did a contest back in 06, 07, my first year, and I can share some experiences with that didn't go like everyone hoped. So I wouldn't recommend doing a contest, but I definitely think that none of you were on the board at that time, but it was
Just make sure that we're part of the group that gets to choose from the.
yeah. No, I definitely, after that experience, I wouldn't recommend a contest, but I think that's definitely something that we can
agree with that.
look into for sure. So, but yeah, as far as is the stuff on here,
I just asked Brian this, and I don't know how much it would cost. The district one where you said it's hard to read,
Mhm.
why couldn't you stucco so it has that cream color like the Clear Lake High School?
Yeah, I was thinking it, like,
And
can we
stucco
just paint behind it? Or
Smear
whatever?
it, kind of, sometimes they call it that, to make
Mhm.
it that off-white, that beige color behind the district office too.
Mhm.
I know
And
you
then
don't
that-
want it to stick out, but it should be
There's that kind
readable.
of line right there where the pillar goes up, like if you could just stucco that part.
Mhm.
Like it's kind of outlined, like right.
Yeah, you should be able to put that right over the brick, right?
Just a question, just to make
Yeah.
Better
it
if it
even
was
on the
that
front.
color brick.
Well,
And
what
stucco.
I could do is I could just ask them. This is just a digital mock-up, so I could
Right.
ask them to say, "Hey, feedback is district office maybe doesn't stand out as much as we like. What are their options?" And see what they say.
Change the lettering color to the stucco color.
I just think with the brick, it's gonna make it hard for any color to read, unless it's a really light color, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. And yeah, I can definitely ask them that because it's early stages of this. And then, would you like me to look into putting a label on the back where it says gymnasium or something like that on the back of the building? Or
I feel like if somebody's driving around, even in like, if you're giving instructions or I think about all the things that we host, usually it's enter the gymnasium entrance. But if it doesn't have a sign, how do you actually know that that's the
Do we have
entrance?
signs
Bigger
coming in
signs
the
up
driveway?
front to-
Yeah, that's what we were just joking
They're too-
about. I
they're
think
too
they're like
small.
this by.
Oh, okay.
They're too small, yeah. We won't, that's another, we'll do that too. That, I mean, that's an incidental cost. We'll do that this
Because I think
summer.
that needs to be bigger.
On both sides.
Yeah, on both sides.
Would you guys like me to look into that too?
Please. I just think it, we're
Can
gonna
I
make it
suggest maybe
easy.
one more thing while you're at it?
Let's make, aren't you glad you brought it up?
We've also,
Want
you know,
feedback?
every year it seems like it's part of orientation, you know, we talk about the direction of traffic through the parking lot. Maybe there's a one-way sign this way and do not enter over here.
It's not one way though.
We haven't
Technically
done
not.
that. I mean, we could look into it, but we have not, it's not been a one-way.
Oh, okay, I always thought, okay. I
They
guess
said in
I
the morning you
misunderstood
want
that.
people to
In
come
the
in.
I always thought people were supposed to come in one way and out the other, but.
Just at drop-off time.
Drop off.
Drop
Pickup
off,
time.
pickup time.
Yeah.
No, because I see high
It's
schoolers
been pretty
coming in
good
both.
lately.
Yeah.
It's been pretty good. I mean, better than some years.
Tim had recommended that at one point too, is
Yeah.
both a one-way.
I think we'd be fighting an uphill battle with 20-some years of
Yeah.
habits built there. I don't know. And just, you know, when kids are coming into practice, you know, just to pull in and out, you know,
Right.
whether you're going to
Yeah.
make them drive all the way around the building, I don't know.
Overall, I just think we need to make sure everything's readable that we're doing.
Mhm.
And if we need to put bigger signs by the driveways, put bigger signs by the driveway.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not gonna be readable, it's useless.
Yeah, yeah. And the traffic flow around the building is really not a problem. It's you know, it's
Two
pretty
cars
good.
can fit, like the bus can park
Oh, yeah.
out there and you can drive past it when
Yeah.
you're dropping off the locker
Yeah,
room.
true.
It's not an issue.
If you get a bus and full parking on the side, maybe it gets a little tight, but you,
It's never been a problem
Yeah.
at drop off after events.
And I, just so you know too, I did seek other quotes for the signage on
Oh.
the front. And I got 3 names. Kraus helped me find some of them. So, you know, one of them didn't really get back to me at all. One of them said distance. They didn't really want to come out. And
Yeah.
so, but these folks out of Eau Claire were all over it. So, and they got right back to me. And so, okay, so look into the coloring on the front and perhaps do a sign on the back that says gymnasium.
Yep.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's
Appreciate
move
the feedback.
right on. Let's move on to the next item of business then, the consideration/approval of district marketing partnerships.
So this is another one where it's just more like input from the board, not necessarily a specific recommendation, but making the board aware of some options that are out there. So the first thing that I had prepared for a while to bring to the board was this conversation about this organization called Social Schools for EDU. And so I've attached on there a sample contract, but also the second attachment is a slideshow that the owner shared with us. So just to kind of give a little bit of background, the owner of Social Schools EDU is Andrea Gribble, and she started this about 2014, 13, somewhere in there. She's from New Auburn originally, so in the neighborhood. And I remember when she started up her company, she came to Clear Lake and visited with us and looked at our Facebook page with us. And you know, we didn't work with her, but she just gave us some real nice feedback for free. Anyway, so her business was just kind of up and coming at the time, and she's built it up. She's got over 88 districts across the country, 57 I think in Wisconsin. That was one of when we were at the state convention too. I actually listened to a presentation from her. I've heard her speak a few times, and I've spoken to her a few times over the years. That we've thought about, tossed around the idea of working with her, her company. So after a conversation with her at the state convention, she reached out to us again and kind of had a Zoom meeting with the admin team and kind of shared that slideshow and kind of made a pitch to us and talked about what kind of service they could offer. So, I mean, the gist of it is that people at school staff, like now, are the ones who are taking pictures and quote unquote submitting content. But instead of us building all the posts, scheduling all the posts, being proactive, they do that part for you. So she has an army of, she calls them her army of super moms or stay-at-home moms or whatever who work for her remotely across the country, across the state. And basically you get someone who's contracted to your district. And so you have a point of contact, you have an email that's district-wide, and so if someone snaps a picture of this cool activity that happened in their class today, you send it off to the email, they crop it, they make it look nice, or they pick the best picture of the 5 you sent, or the best 2 or 3 and make a collage. You can give them some basic information. They write it up to make it look nice and sound nice. They might use, some apps to make a very professional looking presentation, and then they post it. And then the other thing that they do that's the advantage is they are, district-wide, they're the repository of all this, so then they can schedule things out. So one of the things that they do is they understand the analytics of, timing and when you put things out or how many things a day you put out, and they know how to kind of work those, algorithms. They kind of know how to work that to try to get more attention and more traffic on your page. And so, we do it right now currently ourselves, and I think we do a pretty darn good job. And we have, a handful, half a dozen people that all have access or input and post things, and we do a good job. But we kind of do it when we can and how we can, and we do it, it's like when everyone's in charge, no one's in charge kind of thing. Because we don't have a person to dedicate to just say, hey, you're in charge of, social media, marketing, communications. So they kind of look at that for you and say, well, hey, I've got these 5 things that got emailed to me today. These are timely these should go out today, but this one can wait. And I've got nothing for Thursday, so then they can time it out and schedule it so that your content is getting put out in a consistent way on a daily basis, as opposed to 5 things on a Thursday and then nothing on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and then 4 things on Tuesday, and then 7 things on Wednesday, and then nothing for 3 days, which is kind of what can happen sometimes. So that's just kind of in a nutshell what the service looks like. They also do some monitoring for you. They'll monitor comments for you, like if there's something alarming on there or whatever, they'll reach out to admin to say, hey, you got this comment on here, you may want to figure out how you want to respond to that or what you want to do with that, or things like that. So I don't know what questions the group might have.
So how would it work with the handful of people that we've got doing it now, Chris? Would they be offended if we hired somebody to do this?
I mean, right now, I'd say some of the people that are leading it, right, or that are in it right now, they actually. She has a subscription too, where she does like a monthly, like webinar or seminar thing, where she'll do a little learning activity, and they already subscribe to her, so they're already familiar with her a little bit. I don't, I haven't asked. I'm thinking of 1 or 2 people. I don't think they'd necessarily be offended. I think they maybe look at it as help, and it wouldn't mean that they can't do it or contribute.
Would these key people still be throwing things to whoever's helping
Send it
us
to them,
then?
absolutely.
Instead of posting it themselves?
Yeah,
then?
they could. Yeah.
Is that how that would work?
Yeah, or I mean, it's literally like if we were to do this, they come or they do an in-service with us, and they talk to our staff about promoting it and the importance and how to do it. And so then every teacher, second grade teacher, the high school science teacher knows, like, they get kind of ingrained with the idea that, take a picture when something cool is happening. You might not think it's a big deal, but it's really cool, for people to see that. You're doing this experiment in chemistry, let's say. Take a picture of it, fire it off, and they will find a way to use it and incorporate it in the next days or weeks, versus just nothing happening with it, or the teacher takes a picture, forgets about it. Or I'll do this as a principal. I'd say, oh, that's cool. Take a picture in the hallway, put my phone in my pocket, go do the next 5 things, and 3 days later I say, oh, that's right, that was cool. Oh, no, it wouldn't make sense to post it now. That kind of thing. So I don't know, I'm kind of rambling on here, but basically we're doing some good things now, I think. We do some nice things. The question is just, with the investment, would it be worth the investment to be that much better? That's the question, I guess.
She just says on there, like, that you can pay for it with retaining 2 students.
once.
How many students are we actually losing because of lack of social media versus
maybe
other
a
things?
homeschool coming back in? I mean, is that potentiality?
Or open enrollment,
Open enrollment,
perhaps, or people looking to move somewhere and they say, oh,
Here's a question for you. Legally, can we hold them responsible for things that maybe shouldn't have been put out there? Would they be responsible for that content then?
like if they post something that we don't appreciate that they posted. They work for us. I think too, that's the beauty of what they do is they've been proven for 10 years that they do a great job. They're very
some responsibility out of our hands on this.
Yeah, I mean they're very judicious in what they, and anything, and I've heard her speak multiple times, like anything that they're going to contact one of us to say, hey, this picture got sent to me, what is this, or should we post this, or that's one thing. They've got a proven track record of being very thoughtful, I guess, about that kind of thing. And they're there, she'll say, we're here to champion your school, we're here to make you look good.
Is it worth 10 grand? I think is the question.
I'd look at it and
That's my
contrast
question.
to ETS. I'd rather see the money going that way. The kids probably get more out of that than they would.
I don't know, I just feel like we're doing a good job, and we haven't explored upskilling our own staff.
Mhm.
Or like you said, because it's everyone's job, it's no one's job, so what about whose job could it be? Like there's an opportunity to elevate some of our own positions. We've got talented people.
And that's kind of what we tried to do over the years. I wouldn't say, we've got like some secretaries that'll definitely are willing to, work at it. But, they've already got a job, so it's like they lack that ability to be consistently like, hey, every day at this time I'm going to work on this. They can't always do that. So that's where it just kind of, I know when I was a principal, I made efforts here, to really try to do more. But yeah, there's times where you just can't. But that is the question. Is it worth, worth the money,
I can say I've personally noticed inconsistencies sometimes where things are not posted or posted too late. I have seen, I have had teachers tell me, I submitted photos for that activity, but they never got there and they don't know why. I've heard that happen. I don't know.
I'd be curious to some of the other schools around here, what their take is on it.
Yeah.
I know we got.
That's what I asked her too
She
last
gave us a
week.
list of
I said, can you give me, so there's the fifth document on there, schools served in Wisconsin. She sent a little map to see, some of our neighbors around us that use her.
And this would be a contract for next year?
It's a 1-year contract.
So we start next budget?
Well, depend what we want to do.
Right.
She said if we wanted to move forward this spring, she said it's actually a good time to kind of launch in the spring because not everybody's doing it then. So I guess we'd pay for it on this year's calendar, and then it'd be a 12-month calendar. I guess it would renew whenever.
Well,
You said a 1 year?
It's cheaper
or
if
is
it's
it-
three, if you do 3 1-year contracts, all that same. It lowers it.
Yeah, you can get a discount if you do a 3-year deal. And I did ask her about if you click on pricing chart there, it's based on the enrollment of your district. So we would fit in that 501 to 1500 kids. But she said first year, she said, I would offer you guys the less than 500 because we have like 550 kids. And she said, you guys are really close. So she said she would offer us that $10,000 price the first year. So, and I'm not coming here with a big recommendation.
Yeah.
I guess I'm coming here just to kind of get feedback, maybe even just mull it over. You don't have to make a decision tonight. It's
I
just-
think to me, we have potential to look at all these things that are good, school perception, this and that. But I want to make sure we see a whole big picture of what our potentials are to pick from, because we're going to have to be really wise with our money. And if we come 2 months from now and say, oh, this looks really good, well, we've already, so I just really want to be sure what's our big picture, and we pick the best of what we want to do with our budget next year when all of our ESSER money is gone.
So it's already gone.
What's our what's our priority? I just want to make sure not just to look at this. We need to look at the big picture and fit the big balls in before we try to fill it all with little balls if we have one container.
Well, let's just, if we got time, take a look at some of these websites or the Facebook pages that are out there, mull on a little bit. If it comes back to the surface, we can talk about it again later on.
Yeah, you can look at other schools that have it, and go check out their pages. And I've done some of that, and we've done some of that. She had some analytics she could send with us too, or that she sent us to show, like, here's how it drives traffic, things like that. So.
And she'd only be taking over the school Facebook page and Instagram, not, I think like FFA has their own, and I don't know if any other clubs, like girls basketball, boys basketball, like that's where it gets to be difficult, is you have to follow all of those pages to get some of those updates.
And that's something that unfortunately just kind of organically happened years ago.
No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
No, I sometimes I do feel it's a bad thing, but I also understand.
Spreads it out too.
I understand too that there's just different districts that make it all be one page, and there's disadvantages to that too, because
really
now you're kind of taking away
little details that don't need to be shared with everybody.
Right, or the flexibility for the football coach only to just post something on there that not everyone else cares about. So I see both sides of it, but it's kind of a mess. But
I think what we're kind of talking about too is a little bit about communication. So if the sports have their own page, but they also have Team Reach and Sports U and all of this stuff, like, do you need a Facebook page and that? Because if you're communicating with your team, what are you communicating to your team with? And then what's our venue for communicating to the public? I think, Nettie, what you're getting to is, what's the bigger communication strategy? And who's going to use what tool? We've talked about it with teachers too.
You said Instagram a minute ago too. That's why I wanted to, before I lose that out of my mind. She did say she would launch an Instagram page for us.
I read that in there because that's why, like the two, you post on one, you post on both.
Because that's an example I'll say is, like, we've been talking about starting an Instagram page for a long time, and why hasn't it happened? Because who and when? Me, Ryan, or Wendy, or it's like that's the thing. It's just it hasn't happened, unfortunately, because who so because you got to get it right when you do it. So
I don't know if I'm off on the whole bigger communication strategy, because I think I'm also thinking of putting ourselves in a parent or a community perspective. If there's 15 different things out there, which one are we paying attention to? And if it's kind of like, if it's nobody's job, or if it's everybody's job, it's nobody's job. If it's all out there, then we're looking at none of it.
Yeah, I mean, our page does get a lot of attention. It does get does get pretty good traction. So we are doing some good things, and as some of you said, we've got people in house who can do a really great job with it. It's just the consistency is probably the biggest thing.
Chris, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to ask those individuals that are putting the effort into this, to ask them if they want to continue, see what they're, I'm sure they're squeezing it in. At times they could be doing other things too, Yeah,
and I agree.
Or not, maybe.
And I agree. I wouldn't want to lose the ability to post things myself. Even I like there's been some times where something cool happens. I don't know, our team wins the wrestling sectional, and you post a quick video of it, and it goes crazy because it happened right now, and everyone, so it's neat to be able to do something like that too, with still having the control of it for ourselves too, which we would. So.
All right. Well, if this comes back, Chris, it'll come back then.
Yeah.
Next time of business will be the discussion of the CISA 11 Joint Board Superintendent Spring Meeting, April 3rd.
Okay. So this is just a heads up information. I can't find, they don't have a flyer yet, which I'm a little
Yeah, I
surprised
looked on
because
their
it's
page.
getting pretty close. I looked on their webpage, but we do know that it's Joe Sanfilippo is the speaker this year at CISA 11. Some of us have heard him speak. I haven't actually listened to him in person live. I've seen some of his stuff on social media. But anyway, he's very good. So we don't have an exact time, but I'm guessing last year, I don't know if it was 5:30 or something like that we went up there. But it's typically, a nice little buffet dinner, and then the speaker, and a couple hours total. So I guess if folks are interested, it's Thursday, April 3rd. If folks are interested, let me know either now, or you can email me, or if anybody.
I'll go.
Corey, you're going to go too. So everybody's in? Okay.
Everybody's in.
All right. And then invite the principals too. Okay, so everybody's in. All right, awesome. I know last year that they thought that was pretty cool that our whole board came up there too. So
That was a
All right.
good speaker last year, too.
Last year it started at 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so we must have
Dinner at
arrived.
6 registration, dinner at 6:30, 7 presentation.
Okay.
So I'm assuming it'll be close to the same.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dottie.
Yeah, and I think they brought their butter out and it was kind of melted, so it went on your bun easily.
That's good. That's always good.
All right, next item of business will be the discussion of school board member professional development opportunities.
Okay.
We just all agreed to one.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Yeah. Greg, do you want to, you had asked to put this in. Do you want me to talk about it, or did you want to?
It's up to you. It doesn't matter to me.
Just,
But we gotta visit this,
Just a reminder.
every year, just to make sure. But I think this is gonna be our second one now, right? We had
we had Aaron Bellargin here in September to talk to us about trauma-informed schools and mental health students. So, some of you were able to go to the state convention. Some of you have done some of the webinars. But yeah, just that Greg had asked to just put it on there as an agenda item to remind everybody about the professional development. Everyone's been doing that. And I think more so than ever before. The board's doing that kind of stuff, which is awesome. And then also to remember that on WASB, we subscribe to that online learning platform. And so anybody can go in anytime. You have to have your login, so if you ever lose or can't figure out your login, contact Eve or me. We can help you log into the WASB page, but then there's all those learning modules. You can click into those and watch lots of various topics. A lot of it's legal stuff or open public records or open meetings, stuff like that. Some of them are more exciting than others, but
Could you guys send us out our login information so we can have it at hand if we get a moment, we want to look on the website and check some things out? And then if anybody does soak into one of these, please bring it to the meeting and share what you learned with us so we can foster more development amongst ourselves, amongst our board.
And Greg, I'm thinking about it might be a case where we can't share the login, but it might be where we can just reset it. Nowadays you can't, it'll just show a bunch of dots there, but we can
Reset our passwords.
or we can even just send you directions for how to reset your password. You can do that too. So, all right.
All right, next item of business then is the discussion of school board election April 1.
Yeah, so just a reminder for everyone paying attention to board meeting, just a reminder that the school board election is part of the general spring elections, April 1st. And then we'll have a canvassing committee meeting, tentatively planning that for 2 days after. And then the April 14th meeting is when our elected board member would take the oath of office and then officially become the board member if it's someone new, which we've got one incumbent running unopposed currently. So April 28th officially takes office, and then the board reorganization meeting would happen at the meeting in May. So, and then as I just said, Matt's seeking re-election unopposed currently. So.
Next item of business is the discussion of the election canvass committee timeline.
And then, I just carried that over. That's an agenda item we always have on there this time of year, just that we need to meet within a certain time frame after the election, and then, again, the tentative plan is to meet on Thursday, April 3rd, We noticed that meeting publicly, and then it's 2 qualified electors, meaning people that live in our district, plus the board clerk, Corey. So I hope, see if that confirm that works for you, Corey, to be there, and then usually I find a couple of employees who work in the district to come and do it, and we just review all the stuff that comes in. So usually doesn't take very long. So.
Yep, we'll make it work.
All right, very good. So the next item of business is our superintendent notes, Mr. Christopher Peterson.
Okay, so just, again, like always, recap of some of the exciting things outside the classroom that go on. One note too, I made a note on here. So I set a map in front of you at the beginning of the meeting. That's from the Association for Equity and Funding. If you guys recall that we joined that group, and they put out that new map. So one of the things, it's a budget year in Madison, so for the 25 to 27 biennium, and their big theme, and they've gotten a lot of traction with this, it seems. 2 big things that they're pushing for is, 1, bigger reimbursement for special ed costs. So currently, only 30% of our special ed costs get reimbursed by the state. So that means 70% we end up taking out of our general fund. And you guys have seen the budget. Every year, it just escalates more and more that we're taking out of our general fund to pay for that. If we can restore more of it getting, refunded by the state or paid for by the state, that's that much money that stays right in our pockets to be able to spend on other things, for other students, for staff, so on. So that's one thing that seems to be getting traction with legislators on both sides of the aisle. So there's some optimism that they may get some better rates for that in the next budget. So they're pushing for a 60% reimbursement rate instead of 30%. And then, in addition to that, the other thing that the AEF is also lobbying for is, in this biennium, to do what they did in the last one, which is take that low revenue limit or ceiling. I call it the floor, but it's the lowest amount per pupil that a district can have, and raise it again another $13.50 over the biennium. That made huge strides for a lot of districts, and for years and years before the referendum, we were one of those low revenue districts at the lowest low revenue ceiling. And so other districts have had that, and if that were to occur again, that would be a big bonus for Clear Lake. It would exceed what the referendum gave us, actually.
Yeah,
so
we have there, yeah.
So if those 2 things, and their mantra is get 90% of the schools funded within 10% of each other. And so there seems to be some traction for that as well. So I just wanted to call that out and pay some attention to it, and that was a new map that they had kicked out. So anyway, otherwise, just we've had 3 closures now for cold temps and then snow last week, but we do not need to make any days up yet. We did do a virtual day, the 3rd one, just the way circumstances fell together. It worked to do it. Trying to avoid coming back on a Monday in June. Congratulations to Magna Mago for making it to state in wrestling as a freshman. Our wrestling team was dual meet champs in the Lakeland Conference last year in the Lakeland Conference, so that's pretty neat. Boys and girls basketball just finished their playoffs. Also, the boys finished out, again, final season in the Lakeland as champs. That's a pretty cool thing to go out that way, as the t-shirt said one last time in the Lakeland Conference. So, and then the girls tied for 2nd place and had a very, very successful, very good season as well. We had in-service days back on February 17th. We had Erin Ballargen, mentioned her. She came in and talked to our staff with some more follow-up about student engagement and mental health and teaching students in the classroom and reaching students and motivating. Junior high solo and ensemble was February 20th. We had parent-teacher conferences in February. Read Across America Week was last week at the elementary school. We got ACT testing tomorrow for the juniors. We got a blood drive Wednesday. We got spring break next week. Forensics, all the students in Forensics advanced and go to districts on March 22nd. VAC, the Visual Arts Classic, we had a bunch of students advance on to state there, so that was Miss Galecki, our new teacher. It's her first time doing that. And then we've got large groups, large group ensemble or band and choir. We're hosting that here March 25th, so we'll have multiple schools coming in at late afternoon and evening to do that. High school solo and ensemble is also that same week, the 27th, so a busy week for band and choir. We've been in the midst of interviewing and hiring for some of our positions for next year. Beginning the process of budget requisitions from the staff for next year. So just lots going on. And looking ahead, future agenda items, we'll have health and dental insurance renewals. We've been working on that in the background too. So, but anyway, lots happening here with a little March Madness with activities, and I think everyone's going to be excited for a little break next week too. So, been a busy time. So,
Okay, thanks, Chris. Now we'll move on to our contemplated closed session. Thanks for coming in. Pursuant to Wisconsin Statute Section 19.85, Paragraph 1C, to consider the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of a public employee over which the board has jurisdiction. I will pull the board, or I will pull the board. Nick?
Yes.
Corey? Myself, yes. Christie?
Yes.
Matthew?
Yes.
We are in closed session.
thanks, Eve. Need you use the cart? No? Okay. And we're back.
All right, back into open session. Next item of business would be the agenda items. Anybody have anything that they wanted to make sure we get on the agenda for next time? I think a couple things were mentioned.
I feel like one thing we got, and maybe it's not us to talk about, but communication plan.
Yep, that's.
I actually think
Part of-
admin needs to work on that.
That's part of our strategic plan. We've
Yeah.
started that beginning stages, yep.
All right, anything else?
And I mentioned health and dental will be on
Yep.
the next agenda too.
Okay. Well, then, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. We are adjourned.